All right, good. Adriana's sharpening her pencil. Yeah, you're going to need your pencil sharpened today. So, and Adriana, you tell me if you can hear me because you were telling me last week you couldn't hear me that well. So hopefully I've resolved the issues. Okay, we have a lot to get started. It's 2:00. I'm going to try to cover quite a bit here in the next hour. Welcome. If you haven't been here for the last 2 weeks, we covered the face proportions and then we covered the eye. And this week we're doing the nose. And the nose, it's kind of easy, kind of not. It's really about shading and highlights. Okay, so let's talk about the nose. I'm going to go to hopefully this will still pick up my voice. And I'm going to go over here to my sketchbook. And let's talk about the different parts of the nose. I did this little sketch of a nose last night, and I want to talk about the parts of the nose so that we know what we're talking about when we're drawing it, okay? So this right here, we call it usually the bridge, but it's actually the root of the nose. Let me see if I can write it better. Root of nose, okay? And then this part right here is the dorsum of the nose. And then here, right down the center here, we call it the tip, but it's actually called apex, the apex of the nose. And then these here, which most people say nostrils, but actually this is your nostril. The correct term for the nostril is the nair. It's a nair. So I'm going to put nairs. Y'all don't know. A lot of y'all don't know, but I used to be a hygienist. So I used to have to identify all these parts of the nose. It's pretty crazy. But anyway, root, dorsum, apex is the tip, nostrils are nairs, and the little flap of skin is called the ala, the ala of the nose, or the wing or ala. Bet you didn't know that you had an ala of the nose. Okay, and then you have your nasal septum, which is the part that you can feel, that piece of cartilage right there. Okay, that is the septum. We'll put the septum right here. Okay, and this part right here, which we kept calling the Cupid's bow or the Cupid's whatever last week when we were talking, it's actually called the Philtrum to you dental people. The Philtrum. Okay, so that's the parts of the nose. And I looked online at the different nose pictures and stuff. It was super, super gross. So I'm warning you right now, don't look up anatomy of a nose because you'll see perforations and you'll see tumors and you'll see nasty stuff in the nose. So don't do it. Just look at my little chart here and just know I'm going to be calling them out, these different names, parts of the nose. I think it's important that you know the parts of the nose when you're drawing them. Okay, let's talk about shading. All right, so the reason, let me show you this right here. Okay, so I sculpted a little nose the other day just to kind of help with the talking about how to draw it. So basically you're taking a flat piece of paper and you're trying to make a nose come out of it. So the only way to do this is by shading and highlights. Okay, that's the only way. And so we're going to go over shading quite a bit today and how we hold the pencil and all that stuff. But so you're trying to create this illusion that this thing's sticking out. And so the only way to do it is to do it by shading and highlights. Okay, so what we're going to do, I have my whole set of 12 Faber-Castells. If you don't have that, that's fine. Like I said last week, you can use a regular pencil. But it's going to really help you if you have several types of grades of pencil. Okay, pencil shading, it depends on your pencil grade. So an HB, which is what I'm using right now, is kind of an in-between. Like I said the first time, an 8B is going to be a blacker, softer lead. It's going to be bolder. It's going to be used for your darker shadows. Okay. So what we want to do, let's do a little kind of gray value scale here. Okay. I'm going to divide it up into a couple of squares. And what I want you to do is, if you have these pencils, then use your 8B or your 6B or the heaviest you have, B. And I want you to fill in that value as dark as you can, okay, as dark as you can. And then if you'd like to, go to the next one, like a 7B, and do the same thing with the 7B, the same pressure, okay, same pressure. You can actually feel how soft this lead is, okay? And then I can go down to 6, 5, whatever, or I can just adjust my pressure, lighten up on it, and pull my hand back because that lightens the pressure, and you can get a different value, okay? So shading, once again, it depends on the pressure that you're using. It depends on the pencil grade, whether you're using an H or a B or an HB. And then it also depends on where you're holding it, okay? So when I want to do really heavy detail, I'm going to be way up on the neck of the pencil. When I want to do a lighter shade, I'm going to kind of hold it back here because it allows me to give a lighter shade, okay? So practice that. Do a little value scale here. Also, there's different ways of shading. If you notice, I used a really dark, heavy-handed pressure here, okay? Right there. I did the same thing here, did the same thing here. But here, when I'm trying to change values, I did what's called a crosshatch. And a crosshatch is where you just cross the pencil lines back and forth in crosses. You know, basically you go like this and you go like this. So that's another way of shading. Another way of shading is called stippling. And stippling is just tiny little circles. This takes forever. So unless you're doing tiny things, I don't recommend it. But stippling, can you see that? Let me get a little closer here. Okay, stippling is tiny little dots here. And the closer and the more you have of them, the darker it's going to get. So you can actually get lighter value as you go on. You see what's happening here? Is I got dark and then I'm going lighter and lighter. That's called stippling. But for today, we're just going to do a combination of lines and then cross-hatching. So there's some of your B pencils. I'm going to go to an H pencil. Okay, the H pencil, you can really get a nice fine tip on it, but it's going to be a lot harder. H is for hard, B is for black. So see how much lighter that is when I shade, even with a light pressure. You know, even with a heavy pressure, it's kind of light. See? So just keep that in mind. If you get the opportunity and the privilege to have a set like this, it is nice because then you can get your dark shades here and your lighter shades with your H pencils. Okay, and then I'm going to go to an F. This one has an F on it. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, this is the one that's really light. It's really hard. And you can get a really nice effect from that. Okay, so in your spare time, I want you, if you have a set like this, I want you to practice a value scale here because that's super important to be able to create a nose. Okay, so let's talk about shadows and highlights now. And I know this isn't talking about the nose yet, but it's super important. Okay, if you did my beginning drawing class last year before COVID hit, we did a lot of things on shadows and highlights. Okay, so it's really important to know different shadows and highlights. Now, I'm not going to go into this very, very much, but just so you know, there's going to be highlights. Always the brightest part of the nose is the highlight. The center light is where your source comes. Remember, always know your light source. Your halftones are going to be where you're shading kind of medium, mid-tone, kind of like what we did here. That's like a halftone right there. And then a core shadow is the darkest shadow, like on this nose. Here's my core shadow. See that? Here's my halftones, midtones. There's my highlight right there before I wrote all over it. We'll go back over that. And then a cast shadow. A cast shadow is what the object throws off. So in this instance, a cast shadow is right below the nose. Okay? So let me go to my screen here. And I am going to point out, let me show you here. This is, remember, I told you guys about unsplash.com. This is a great website to find nose references for free. And look, I mean, if we start looking at them, look at all the amazing noses. I'm so glad we're so different. But you cannot really have a formula for a nose because they're so different. And the angle of the nose is going to change with every reference, unless you're looking straight on to this person, like this guy right here. So keep that in mind. There's kind of no formula. It's really based on what you see and then highlights and shadows. Okay, so if you haven't had a chance to get on Unsplash, I highly recommend it. Okay, hello, Anne. You're like a rabbit in Alice in Wonderland running late, but here I am. Yay! Okay, so, and you can catch the replay as well. It'll be uploaded. So go on Unsplash and look at those amazing noses. Okay, I want to point to you this great picture I found. And what we're talking about, let me see if I can get all these pictures here. Yeah. There it is. Okay. So this is a great reference photo. So when we're talking about an object, not just a ball, we look at the nose as well. So keep in mind, we see the center light, the highlight, the halftone, the foreshadow, the reflected light, which is what bounces off of the surface. And this shadow here, called the occlusal shadow or the occlusion shadow, is where the two surfaces meet. Very, very important. It's the darkest point on your object, and then your cast shadow. Same thing for the face. We've got highlights. You know where the light source is coming from. Okay, see my cursor? Light source is coming from up here, obviously. Highlights are going to be in the highest points on her face, the nose, the bridge, root, the dorsal part of the nose. And then she's got a really good cast shadow off her neck. And she's got a cast shadow off her nose. We're going to be concentrating on the nose today, but I wanted you all to see that these shadows pertain to both the face and objects. So you got a shadow here, you've got reflected light, the cast shadow, and the mid-tone. So those are super, super important to look at. Let's see if I can get back onto my screen here. Okay, so there we go. So when we're talking about, here's my picture again. When we're talking about the cast shadows, the nose, because it stands up so far, it's going to have a cast shadow, okay? If I had a, well, you can actually see it here. There we go. Can you? Yeah, you can actually see it. The cast shadow is right here. Y'all see that? And then, because I have lights coming in from all over, so it's kind of hard. But also, here's another example of a, just a ball. This bottom line right there, you see the cast shadow is on the surface, and then the bottom line is the occlusal shadow, which is the darkest one. And then you're going to see a highlight, right there on that ball. Anyway, those are just some ideas for you to consider when you're doing a nose. Another point I'm going to put in comments for you is really good source right here. This shows the different lighting where the light's coming in. So here you can see where the you could probably just kind of play with it and kind of figure out where's the light coming from. Here it's coming from the bottom. Here, side, and just look at that, because you're going to get all kinds of shadows from all these different light sources. So the most important thing that I would say is know your light source, where that's going to come from. Okay, so let's get ready to, if you have any other questions about the nose, just message me. By the way, you guys, those of you that sent me pictures of your eyes, oh my gosh, fantastic job. Way to go. They were fantastic. Good job. Send those pictures to me. I love to critique them if you want, but those were awesome. Okay, so no critique needed. Okay, so let's talk about the noses then. And when you look at noses, let's go over some of these pictures. Okay, this is a fabulous nose. Okay, this is great. He's got a little bit of an angle, but he's pretty symmetrical there. So I thought about doing this one, but I wanted something with more shadows. So that's a great one on Unsplash. This is a great one too. She's got a really nice, very, very symmetrical nose with a little kind of a bulb right there. This is a great one to do, pretty easy. Again, all you see is shadows. You really don't see lines, okay? This one is an amazing nose. It looks like the light is straight at us. So you get some really nice, even shadows, cast shadows. Great nose right there. And then this gal, you can tell where the light's coming. The light's coming from here, because why? Because her shadows are here heavier. See that? They're heavier here, okay? And then she's got a little bit of a cast shadow here. But I really wanted to have something with a little more contrast. So this guy has the best nose ever. Looks like it has a little bit of a deviated septum, but that's okay. That's okay. We're going to use him. And he had a really nice source of light here. Okay, so that's why we're going to use him. And what I did was I closed in on him, and then I did black and white, because that helps with shading. So that's the nose we're going to do today. Okay? If y'all have any questions, stop me. I'll be checking. I always forget to check my comments, but please talk to me so I can, if anybody has any questions. Okay, so for the nose. Now, y'all remember we did the face 2 weeks ago. Okay, we're gonna do this real quick. We're gonna do the face, just replacement. We're gonna do like a little egg shape, and then we're gonna do about maybe just 3/4. We're gonna divide up the face into 1, 2, and 3. And y'all remember? Let me focus in. Okay, y'all remember that the nose is right about here. Okay, so that's where we're going to be working today. Now, for the nose, there's really no major, there are formulas, but they get really anatomical, and I'm just not into anatomical. It's too complicated. So what we're going to do, this is my own little formula, is put a line down the middle, and I'm going to put this guy here because he's so fabulous. His nose is great. Okay. We're going to put a line down the middle, and remember, this is straight on, so this makes it easy. And then we're going to do just a little curve here, almost like an anchor, or a real dull arrow, okay? And do it lightly. I'm using my F grade pencil. You can use a 2H or a little mechanical pencil. So we're going to do just a little curve here, like a little anchor, okay? And then, so this is the septum, remember? So from the septum, we're going to bring it over into the nostrils, okay? Kind of a S and a backwards S. Okay, if you're following along, do it with me. And we're going to erase all of our lines in a minute, okay? So here we go. Now I'm really going to look at this guy because he's going to be my template. All right. Now, this guy has a real, it's kind of flattened out. I made this way too small. His is like flattened out a little bit. So I'm going to take this and bring it just a little bit this way. Okay. And then these are the nostrils or the nares, remember? And what are these called? This is the wings or the ala of the nose, okay? The ala of the nose. And once you get this, really, it's all the noses are pretty much the same, but some are big, some are flared, some are, different. Now, some people will teach you to do a circle. Everything starts with a circle. Drives me nuts. Everything starts with a circle. But that apex of the nose is really usually a circle. Okay. So if you want to start with a little circle, that's fine. That's just not the way I do it. But if that helps you to line it up, that's good. This guy, you can see he has a circle here. Most noses do. Okay. Now, when I line up that circle, then I realize that the ala of the nose or the wings of the nose, they kind of line up to that circle. Do you see that? So if you had to do a formula, then yeah, definitely, do that. Circle, your line down the middle, and then your little curve. Can you see that? Yes, me too. Oh, let's see. The sound is a little off on my end. It goes in and out. Anyone else having issue? Almost a bit of an echo. Okay. Can y'all hear me? Let me test this real quick. I'm going to mute this. Okay, is that better? Tell me, because my audio has major problems. I have to buy a new microphone. Does that get rid of the echo? Let me know. Yes? Okay, I'll wait to hear from you. Yes? Or do I just need to talk louder? Okay, let me know. All right, so let's go back to the nose here. I don't know why it's doing that. I'm really not sure. I've got to get that. Yes, yes. Yes, good or yes, bad? Yes, echo or no echo? You guys, yes. Tell me what that means. I hope it means we're good. Okay, I switched one little thing and maybe that did it. I hope so. All right, I apologize for that. Okay, we're good on time. We're going to be able to do a couple of noses, okay? All right, let's get back to this. Pick up your pencils. Okay, so what I was saying was this: if you had a formula to go by, then yeah, or if you need a formula to go by, then by all means, do a little circle, a line down the middle, and then take your little, your nostril line, septum of the nose, the nostril line here, and then the wings are going to line up to the tip of that apex or that nose. Echo is gone. Yay! I think I've maybe discovered something. Woo! That drives me nuts. You guys talk about learning experience, but we're getting through it. We're getting through it. I'm getting more comfortable talking to myself. It's bizarre. Okay, so there's your two noses. Let's go back to this one. To Mr. Man here. Okay. So here we have the nose. You see that? Pretty much. Now, if I was doing a cartoon, I would put, the bridge here, the bridge here of the nose. But because this is not a cartoon, he's not going to have any of that. Okay. So we want to make sure and not do the nose like that. All right. So this is where the shading comes in. So we're going to actually do the tip a little bit further. Okay. Now, if you have a 2H pencil or an HB, I'm going to go with the 2H. Take your 2H pencil. And what we're going to do is, remember what I talked about with the grade of, with the shading? we're going to shade the whole thing in very lightly. The whole thing in, okay? Just go ahead and shade over all your lines. Don't worry about it. Shade all in there, okay? Very lightly, because we're going to build layer upon layer upon layer. Okay? I'm going to do this one too. Okay, now remember where your light source is. The light source is, we'll do a little bitty light there. Okay, so that's where your light source is. Hopefully you can see it's not too light. We're going to build it up. Okay, so very lightly. All right, now last week I said if you're doing skin, you want an old brush. If you're doing hard lines, like for the eyes, you want a tortillon. Somebody texted me and asked me how to clean the tortillon when it gets kind of sooty like this. And what I do is I have a package of Dollar Tree emery boards. See that? And you just, you can use either sandpaper or emery board and then get it off of your tip. And it works really well. I'm not going to sit here and do that. But just remember, you can use an emery board or sandpaper to get that tip clean. Okay? So there's a tip for you today. But since we're doing the nose, we're going to take our brush and that light layer that we did, we're going to go ahead and rub it all in and just rub it all in, because eventually it's going to be the full face, right? And so we're just going to rub all that in. Okay. So you got that all done. So there is the base skin. Okay. Let's see. Much better, clear. Okay, good. How are we doing? Good. All right. Now we're going to build the shading here. Okay, so what I'm noticing here is it's starting to get, here's a mid-tone. It's starting to get a little bit darker here. So right down that midline or the dorsum of the nose, I'm going to get a little bit darker, okay? Just a little bit darker. But remember, the pressure, I want to be on the back of my pencil. You don't want a lot of pressure. Lightly, lightly. Another thing I noticed from a couple of gals is that they're not shading in the whole, like the eye, they weren't shading it in. Don't be afraid to shade it all in. Get some good shapes in there, okay? You see how that's starting to come? I'm getting it darker and darker. Now, his septum, we're going to fix that in a minute, okay? He does have kind of a curve right there. So again, if you're joining us just now or a little late, doing a nose is all about shading and highlighting. Okay. So I'm just going on the dark. I'm going on the dark side now, the dog side. And I am shading the midtones, the halftones, okay? And then if you look here, it's getting a little bit darker. So I'm going to start shading in that, because that will start to bring out that apex of the nose. Okay. Now, as I get darker, I'm going to inch onto my pencil because I want more pressure. And that immediately darkens it up. It's crazy the way that happens. Y'all try it. Inch up on your pencil. Look how much darker you get. Push back on your pencil and you're lighter. It's crazy. Okay. So I'm going to do some more shading here with a mid-tone, half-tone. Okay. Remember, this is like a little ball here. Sometimes I don't even erase my lines because I shade right over them. Okay. Now let me show you something. Remember what we talked about, the ball being where both surfaces touch is called the occlusal shadow, the occlusion shadow. That's the occlusion shadow. So guess what? That's going to be your darkest shadow. So I'm going to get my 8B pencil because it's the darkest one I have. And I'm going to start making the ala of the nose a little bit darker. Okay. All right. And then right around here, same thing. Wherever the two surfaces meet is going to be your darkest point. So that ala of the nose is darker. Get familiar with the terminology, okay? Now, that's pretty dark. So I'm going to soften it up by shading with my brush. All of it. Okay. Soften it up. Okay. So we're getting pretty good. Now, what I notice as I'm looking at this, remember, you need to train your eye to look at stuff. This is way too dark. And what's the problem here? Well, I haven't made this dark enough. So I really want to start now darkening up that side of the nose. Okay. Let's go ahead and darken up the nares or the nostrils. They are definitely a dark part of the nose. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and darken those up. Okay. Darken up your nares. That sounds kind of weird. Darken up your nostrils and darken up the bottom here. It's a little bit darker. Okay. And then he has a mid-tone or a half tone right here. You see the difference? There's a really dark shadow there. And then there's a half tone. So you're going to lighten up on that pencil and you're going to gradate it down. Okay. Same thing here. Lighten up on that pencil, gradate it down. Okay. Now, here I'm seeing it's a little darker. Remember, if the light's coming from here, it's naturally going to be darker where that nose is protruding. Okay. Is yours starting to look like a nose? Pretty cool, huh? Okay. Now, let's go to this side here. We're going to have to put in this cheek, it's called a nasolabial, let me see if I can remember. A nasolabial sulcus, I think it was called. I can't remember. Anyway, it's the depression where the cheek is. So we want to do that just to give that a little bit of form, okay? So I'm just going to lightly put that in there. On this side, he doesn't really have that much, but I want to just at least give that a little bit of depression so that it looks like he's got a cheek. Okay, let's go ahead and blend all of that in again. All right, blend it all in. Okay, so far so good. Now, what do you notice about this? Well, you notice that these are way too dark, these things. And so what we want to do is make this kind of conform a little bit better to that side of the nose. So we're going to shade it up again, just a little bit more, okay? And if you notice, when he comes around here, he's a little bit lighter, but he's darker again here. So we're going to just add more shading here, okay? And there's that deviated septum. And it's all about just layers and layers of shading to get that three-dimensional. Who all's drawing? Is anybody drawing or are you just watching? Now I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of skin here. So a little bit lighter, just so it looks like there is kind of a valley here. We'll fix that in just a second. All right. Okay, how are we doing? Let's see how that looks. That looks pretty cool. Now, the fun thing is now let's take, I just got these from Amazon. They are Faber-Castell pencil erasers. Amazing. They're on my Amazon link. Okay. These are great because I can come here and do a little bit of the stippling that he has on his nose. I can actually use this little eraser. Oh my gosh, it's fabulous. And do the highlight. Let me show you. This is pretty cool. I've never used one of these, and I got it yesterday and I was like, oh, this is amazing. So see, you can actually make it look like the stippled dimple in the skin. See, isn't that amazing? Yeah, let me, okay. And then I love this. If y'all haven't tried these are great. Oh my gosh. Okay. Now I'm also going to use my kneaded eraser and I'm going to do that highlight down the middle. Okay. This is another highlight. And that's really going to make this thing pop. We're going to be able to see the deviated septum. Okay. Now, because that's way too stark, I'm going to blend it in with my brush. Then you can really see that line. He's actually got even a more deviated septum. Okay. Now I'm going to blend all that in. If that's too white, then we can go over it just a little bit. But I love this right here. That's going to really make that nose pop. See that? You're always going to have a little highlight on that nose. Okay. Another little highlight that he has is just a tiny one here around the edge of that nair, that Allah. Okay. All right. And if you look really, really closely, if you're into detail, you're going to see that there's a little bit of reflective light right there too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my little handy dandy eraser. I'm going to put a little bit of, let me get this up a little bit of reflective light here. And that really makes it pop. Okay. And also here. Actually, I'm going to kind of take it off a little bit. Seems like I got a little bit too dark there. Okay. So now you can see where that nostril is. All right. Now, if we're using our stump or our tortillon and we want to get rid of that hard line right here, then yes, by all means, use that tortillon to blend it in. Ooh, that looks good. Yeah, that's what you do. Okay. I hope everybody has a tortillon. You see how that softens that up really nicely? Also here, we want to go ahead and soften up the nostril or the nair really, really well. And then I want to get a little bit darker down here. Okay. All right. Dark nair, dark nostril, and then soften it up as you go outside. See, that really does it, doesn't it? Good. And then let's go back over to this depression on the face where the cheek is, the laugh line, and give it a little bit of a darkness there. Okay. Remember, the darker it is, the farther away it is. All right. So this guy's got kind of freckles. Let me bring it out a little bit. Okay, that's starting to look pretty much like his nose, isn't it? Okay. The neat thing about skin is that, you know, it's not like silky smooth unless you're doing a model, but you can get away with dimples and freckles and changes in the texture of the skin, and it's perfectly fine, you know, perfectly fine. Okay. Let's see. I'm drawing, but it does not look like a nose yet. Okay. Drawing. Olga, I'm sure you're doing great. Okay. Yeah. Here's the key. Layers. Layers and layers and layers. So if it doesn't look like a nose, add a little bit more layer, okay? Like for instance, we're gonna go back here. Now, where is the cast shadow? If you were in here with me, you'd probably show me that this was the cast shadow, okay? You see that? It's a pretty hard line. So what I'm gonna do, we've got to add that. Otherwise, this nose is not gonna look like anything. So we're gonna go ahead and add that here. It's darker right there where it's at the wing, okay? We're gonna add that. And let's go ahead and add a little bit of the Philtrum, because right there, okay? So that's gonna be pretty dark. Again, I'm gonna go back a little bit over. I'm using the 8B still. If I had three pencils to encourage you to get, if you only have the one, I would say get like a 6 or 8B. Now that'll get it really, really dark for you. I would get an HB, that's a mid-tone, and then I would get a 2H, which is a really light one. Okay, so those three, if you don't want to buy the whole set, because you really don't use them that much, get those three. Get some ranges. Okay, so I'm using my 8B here, and I'm going to go back because this little septum is a little bit darker. Okay, and then we're going to, it's, where's my brush? There it is. We're going to blend it out. Blend out the cast shadow. Now, I'm kind of losing, I don't know if you see, but I'm kind of losing the bottom of his nostril there, of his wing right there. So I want to go back and add a little bit of a darker line. See how much you can go back and add. Once you've blended, you can go back and add. And then what am I going to use? Since I'm trying to blend that, that one line, I'm just going to use a tortillon to soften it up, okay? So really important when you're drawing is to have at least a tortillon and a brush, okay? Okay. And then right here, I just noticed that this little wing here, we lost it. So we're going to go back here. Right there. And he's got all this little detail. He's got his, we're not going to get into the hair. That's another class. So we're going to blend this in. Too dark, way too dark here. So I am going to take my brush, blend it out, and then probably just take my kneaded eraser and soften it up a little bit and then blend it. That was way too dark. I should have used a 2 on that one because I used an 8. Ooh, way too dark. Okay, so I'm so glad I make mistakes every week because then I can show you how to correct them. Okay, now if you notice here, there's a pretty good highlight right here. So that's gonna really help me correct this boo-boo, okay? Let's go ahead and erase all of that. See what I did there? To give myself, to get rid of that hard line I had here. Okay. And since he does have texture on his skin, I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay. And then a little bit of light here. So basically, drawing is really knowing where to put shadows and highlights. It really, really is. Okay. If you can find your light source, I mean, look at all the highlights on his eye right here. Like I said last week, highlight, highlight, shadow, shadow. If you can figure that out, you've got it made. Okay. And then it's just a matter of really interpreting what you see. So if you can train your eye to see detail, and it takes practice. Yes, it does. It takes practice. But it's hours and hours of just practice, you know, and you will be able to draw. Amazing. It's crazy. I think it's just what I've seen from you guys. It's just been so encouraging to see and to know that, oh my word, I'm actually teaching people. It's pretty crazy. Okay. So I want a hard highlight here because you'll see that. Okay. And then just a little bit of a hard light here too. I feel like that needs a little bit harder. I love this little eraser, y'all. Y'all need to get this. This is excellent. Okay. Leave it to Faber-Castell to do this. Okay. And then here too. And look what I'm doing. I'm not erasing in a hard line. I'm just kind of, you know, stippling it, to give it a little bit of, you know, like the pores and the skin, you know, it's irregular. So that's what I'm trying to mimic is his skin texture. You see? All right. He's got little bitty hairs, you know. Yeah, we'll get to hair in a couple of weeks here. You can actually treat this eraser from what I'm seeing. This is my first time to use this eraser, y'all. This Faber-Castell, Germany, Perfection 1056 is what it's called. And if you need to get it, I have it listed on my Amazon channel. The Wild Nest Studio. There's a product link. Make sure you click on the product link, and that helps me maintain my page. I don't get much of a discount, but you know what? I needed it as a tool, so that was good. All right, so how's that? Okay, so I'm going to just blend this in just a little bit more. There. There. There's your nose. What do y'all think? What time is it? 2:47. Okay, so let's go over that real quickly again. I'm going to actually do another girl. Okay, if you haven't finished that, you can get back to it. I want to do this girl's nose because it's like so perfect. And she's got that little bulbous thing that we were talking about. Okay. Okay. So on her nose, if you want to practice a girl's nose, we're going to start up again, do a line down the middle. And I said, you can do an arrow type thing, or you can do the little circle. Either way, you're going to get that effect. Okay, and this is a way I'm using. I need a lighter pencil. Okay, so what we're doing here, same thing. Little nose, little bulb. She's got, look at her nostrils. They just kind of go like little pointed mountains. You see the difference? Everybody's different. So what I'm going to do is they're like little triangles. She's got almost an animated nose, y'all. She looks like a princess, some type of a Disney princess. But look at that. You have to be able to be aware that, hey, she doesn't have the classic nose. She's got this little kind of an animated cartoon nose. It's kind of cute, actually. Okay, same thing. You see that? Let me get focus in a little bit here. See that? Very, very animated. It's kind of cute. Look at that. Okay. She's got a really good highlight down the center that we're going to use. Okay. So let's go back to this. She's almost got this little pointed V on her nose. So we're going to kind of make a little indication of that so that when we shade, we'll be able to do that. And then she's got that little bulbous thing happening here. And really the rest of it is just shading. Doesn't go up that high. She's got kind of a short, cute, small nose. Okay, so really you don't see much of her shading here, just a little bit, but I'm going to say she's got maybe the light coming, judging by all this, she's kind of got the light coming from here. I don't know. She's got that. Maybe just forward. Maybe it's just forward. All right. So what we're going to do, again, start shading the whole thing where you see the shadows, okay, lightly. Let's go ahead and do the whole thing. This is your base. And you're going to go, whoa, that's weird. That doesn't look right. Okay, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just shade it all in. You've got the basic shape here. You've got your little nostrils that kind of go up like little mountains. Okay, we're going to indicate that with a darker color, a darker grade, excuse me. Darker grade. Okay, there we go. And then she's got a little bitty septum. She's got a little bitty septum. Look at that. I didn't even notice it. Okay, and then what's that? That's the occlusal shadow, surface to surface. That's going to be dark, and that's going to be dark. Okay. Somebody's trying to call me, I think. And I don't know who they are. Okay. Let's blend, blend, blend. And then add a little bit more. You see where she's kind of dark around here underneath the little V shape on her nose. That's about all the shading she has. I mean, not much, really. This is a quick way to do it. And then here. And then she's got a little shadow here. You see that? Okay. Blend, blend, blend. Blend the skin with the brush. Blend hard lines with the tortillon or the blending stump. Okay. It's kind of a rule of thumb. Got a little bit of a Philtrum here. And a little bit of a cast shadow, actually. Let's do that. See, it starts to come off the page immediately. Okay, let's go ahead and blend her nose out a little bit. All right. And then here. Okay. Oops. I'm going to have to fix this in a minute. But because of time, what time is it? Yeah, because of time, we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. Now, the best part about this is the highlight. The highlight is what really brings out that nose. Look at that. And here. I'm going to soften this up because I got way too dark. Cool, cool eraser. Oh my gosh. Almost like you can erase, like delete, like on the computer, you know. It's pretty cool. Highly recommend it. My new favorite toy. All right, there we go. She's got a reflective shadow down here. So we're going to add a little bit of that. Reflective on the lower end of the nose. And usually you see, if it's bouncing off of the skin, you're going to see a reflective shadow. So she's got some on her down here too, on the tip, the apex of the septum. All right, there we go. And you can blend all that in. But you'll have to re-put the highlight, definitely. Let's put the highlight in here again. There we go. Is that better? Does that look like her nose? Okay. That was a quick one. There you have it. Got 2 quick noses. Again, it's all about shading and shadows, highlights and shadows. So practice those. Go on unsplash.com and practice those noses. If you have any questions, send me some, just send me your pictures because they're great. I'll post some of these picture references for you in the comments. And yeah, that's it for today. Next week, we do the lips. Now, that's going to be interesting. Okay. If y'all have any questions, feel free to text me, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. This will be on YouTube this afternoon, and I'm going to leave it up since I didn't have any technical difficulties today. Woohoo! I'll leave it up for the replay on Facebook. Go to thewildness.com if you want to join the art club. It's open back up. We're doing some fun stuff on there. So thank y'all for joining in. I hope you get out there and enjoy this beautiful weather. We will see you next week. Bye. Oh, any questions? Any questions that you guys have at all? I wear these glasses and I don't even use them, but I really do need them to be able to see. But anyway, y'all holler at me later if you have any questions. Okay? Y'all take care. That's a wrap for today. Bye.